Could bugs from space be a bigger threat to life on Earth than diseases already here? I'm Dave Dooling, Education Director at the New Mexico Museum of Space History. The COVID pandemic has strained society and its medical systems since early 2020. COVID is just one of many diseases, like smallpox, Ebola, Hanta, and anthrax, that threaten life down here. Does space hold something more dangerous? It's one of the oldest ideas in science fiction. In the War of the Worlds, invading Martians succumbed to the same bacteria that we live with. Star Trek revisited the idea in 1966 when a crew member scratched his nose and then contaminated himself and the entire crew. The Andromeda strain in 1971 infected a corner of New Mexico with a crystalline life form that clots your blood in seconds. The stories are scary because the possibilities are real. As early as 1956, a year before the first satellite launch, the International Astronautical Federation urged caution. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty requires nations to take appropriate steps to avoid contaminating Earth. At the same time, NASA started developing biological isolation techniques for crews that would visit the Moon. After quarantining the first 3 lunar surface crews, NASA concluded that the Moon was dead and always had been. But what about Mars and the icy moons of the outer planets? NASA's Office of Planetary Protection has the same concerns and has been careful about forward and back contamination. That means keeping spacecraft as clean as possible during assembly and launch, and fiery ends for probes that might accidentally strike icy moons where life might exist. What about spacecraft bringing bugs back to Earth? Ironically, the Apollo 12 crew may have done just that when they retrieved a camera from the Surveyor 3 lander in 1969. Scientists later discovered Streptococcus on the camera. Did the bacteria survive almost 3 years in the harsh lunar environment? It was probably contaminated when humans literally got their hands on it, but the debate continues and led NASA to tighten planetary protection rules. Even before Viking 1 landed on Mars in 1976, NASA was looking at a mission that would return to Earth with Martian soil. But did we really want to bring it back? What if the capsule crashed to Earth, which would happen to the Genesis solar wind mission in 2001? How about meeting it part way? That was the charter NASA gave a university study group in 1978. The idea was to build an orbiting quarantine laboratory. The team named the project after Antaeus, a mythological Greek giant who drew his strength from contact with Mother Earth. Hercules defeated him by holding him off the ground in a fatal bear hug. By keeping possible Mars bugs from touching Earth, we would be protected. The Antaeus lab was patterned after biosafety cabinets then used by the Centers for Disease Control. The 2017 movie Life used the idea. The crew finds a Martian life form that quickly turns nasty after a scientist zaps it and, well, you know. Finally, a small team led by Mark Cohen of the Space Cooperative in Los Gatos, California, gave Antaeus a complete makeover in 2020. Cohen proposed using the Artemis program's Lunar Gateway Station as a quarantine lab to study human waste left by the Apollo astronauts and later to receive Mars samples. For now, we are looking at Mars samples coming all the way to Earth in the 2030s. The samples would have the highest restrictions in a biosafety lab specially designed for space probes. None exists yet, although both NASA and the European Space Agency are studying designs. It would take about a decade to build the lab and train staff before samples could come back from Mars. Meanwhile, keep washing your hands.